So welcome back to Distinct Worlds. This is our actual second part of how we plan a Walt Disney World trip. In the previous video we covered when we're going, how long we're staying, where we're staying, and transportation. So now we're going to move on to the next bit here and get back on track over here. There we go. Where do we want to eat or not eat?
Because there are places that I may have a preference for or I'm interested in, even mildly. And then what happens is that we'll print up things like menus from allears.net or the Disney Food Blog or even the official Walt Disney World website. And then I will go, hey, what about these places? And then he will say,
I'll look through everything, and if I can find 3 to 4 dishes that I know that I'll probably I can choose from that are not salmon based, I'll be like, all right, sure. Or if I find that there's only one seafood dish and it's just salmon, and I'm like, maybe not.
not saying that he's against salmon, it's just, it tends to be the go-to only fish that restaurants tend to serve. So it tends to get a little old a little fast. There are also other things he will take into account for, which will be, oh, there's a lot of tomatoes on this menu. I don't know if I can deal, because he does not like the relative of the Deadly Nightshade, which I believe we have said before. With those things in mind, then he will say yes, no, maybe. And that's fine, because sometimes the no's are like, meh, well, I was kind of interested, but I wasn't attached to it. Fine. If I can make a good argument for someplace, sometimes he will sit and suffer through it, though that is pretty rare.
Right. There's a new character dining coming up, if it's not already open, like at Boardwalk. I saw the menu. I'm kind of intrigued by it.
Oh yes, it's so you can meet Flynn and Rapunzel, Ariel, and Eric.
Yes.
And it's I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It's the one
Il
that...
Trattoria?
Maybe. It's the one that Cat Cora used to be in.
Do we want to stop and redo this?
If you want.
I'll just edit together and...
You can put it in the little bottom of the title, and it'll be here, right here.
Yeah, it'll be right here. Insert title here.
Insert title. Yeah, and just don't put the insert title here. We've seen that on videos too. Anyway, moving on.
So
you need to decide. You need to decide at the beginning.
What do I need to decide?
If you're going to be on the Disney dining plan or not. Because here's the thing, kids. If I wanted to be on the Disney dining plan, but he didn't, there's no Disney dining plan. Because it's either in your room, it's either everybody or no one is on the Disney dining plan. That is the big thing. It cannot be, well, the kids should be on it, but mom and dad don't want to be, so... Yeah, no. Either all or nothing. Also, don't look at me with I talk in these weird voices. Also, you have to decide what level Disney dining plan are. It starts from just quick service all the way to these really fancy deluxe ones that includes like golfing and all that. You can find those on the Walt Disney World website. You can look through them and you can decide if you want to do the Disney dining plan, which level you want to do, depending on how you eat. Now, we've never done them because the Disney dining plan, the way we tend to eat, our food patterns don't really fit the Disney dining plan thing. Not saying it's a bad thing. We actually have several friends and family members who have done it and they really enjoy it. One of the things I will say is that it can be very filling very quick. So you have to really think about, do you need 3 meals a day? Can you get by with 2 and just a lot of snacking? So you got to remember, you get those snack credits too. So for some people, they only need the 2 meals and the snack credits. Or maybe they just want to do the 1 meal a day snack credits and then kind of be open up for anything else. Be sure to use your snack credits. That's where people tend to forget. And then they have a bunch of snack credits at the end of their trip. Yep. But you can still use them because you can buy a lot of things that you can take home, like Mickey Head pretzels, bags of Mickey Head pretzels and stuff. So anyway, moving on.
Wheel of Dining, turn, turn, turn. Tell us today where we're going to eat.
And we're going to eat at, I have no idea where we're going to eat at today. However,
Why?
Because we forgot to make an advanced dining reservation. However,
I really wanted to eat at Skipper's Canteen today.
well, you could probably actually do a walk-up, but that's a different story. ADRs are great. That's the short term for it. ADRs are great because it's a guarantee that you're going to be able to get into that restaurant you can get into or you want to eat at. However, certain restaurants book up really quickly.
Be our guest
is probably the number one. Cinderella's Royal Table is another one.
California Grill, around dinner, right around sunset fireworks time.
Is another one. Doesn't mean you can't ever get those. It just means you may have to look like every day to try to get something. It may also mean that, okay, we may have to move our plans, so instead of doing it this day, we may have to do it on this day. So you need to sometimes be flexible with these things. But if you really want the ADR, you need to make it how many days in advance?
It's 180.
There you go, kids. However, there are some restaurants you don't necessarily need an ADR, but it's always kind of nice because here's the thing. Book it, and if you decide later on you don't want to do it, cancel the reservation. And that's how sometimes you'll get into your other restaurants you really want to get into.
Within 24 hours at least.
Yes, and in some restaurants, actually all the restaurants, most of them, require
$10 deposit.
And you don't get charged unless you cancel under that,
or no show.
Or no show. So be sure to look at the cancellation times or requirements, restrictions. I don't know what they're called. And in some restaurants, you're already pre-booked. So when you're making that booking, say for Hoop-de-Doo, you're paying in advance. So just know that. It doesn't mean you can't cancel, but that you just have to know that you're prepaying for that.
Right.
Kind of important to know. And my window's rattling.
All right, and we're back.
So when he was doing the Wheel of Fortune turn, turn, turn earlier, we've actually had friends who don't make any advanced dining reservations. They tend to like to wing it. Not something I would suggest especially if you're a first timer, because it's completely different than going to, say, Disneyland.
Dining roulette.
Dining roulette. Basically what they do is, they used to go into guest relations. Now you can just use the My Disney Experience app and say, let's see what's open at this time. We'll eat there. And they'll just make their reservation based upon whatever's open, wherever it is.
Right.
And they're quite content with that because they don't have the same preferences that this one does.
Speaking of preferences, does anyone in your party have any dietary restrictions or food allergies?
Disney is really great about those. So if you let them know in advance, especially if you're making that ADR and you put in the notes, I'm allergic to, somebody in the party is allergic to, blah, blah, blah.
And what's nice is you just hit the check mark, and for instance, for me, I have to hit other, and there's no real way for me to type in coconut. Once I hit other, it just comes up that when we're there, they go, so I see you have a food allergy of other. What is it? And I explain coconut, and then everyone at Ohana's goes, run.
It's not that bad. They'll just tell him not to eat the bread, and I think the dessert, but definitely the bread. But
I just like walking by there going, and watch my face go, pfft.
In which case that's on him and not the restaurant. However, going back to if you do have a dietary restriction or a food allergy, the chef at the restaurant, they will usually have the chef come out and talk to your party, because sometimes, and we've seen it, where two kids in the party have two different sorts of allergies, and then the chef will explain, well, we can do this or we can do that, or if it's a buffet, they can eat this, avoid that, and then we will make this on the side if you would like. So Disney is really good about trying to accommodate those things. I know at Animal Kingdom, and I can't remember what the little window is called, but they do have a little quick service kiosk thing that actually that caters to allergies. So they have like gluten-free items and nut-free items. Yeah. And I believe it started at Animal Kingdom, where they actually have a binder of items, and you can kind of like, oh, well, we were thinking about eating this. Well, let's see what's in it. And oh, yes, you can because there's nothing in here. Or oh no, not such a good thing.
Most of the quick service locations at Disneyland and Disney World both have these binders now, which is really awesome.
So they really, really try to help accommodate, but you have to understand sometimes there really isn't a whole lot they can do if it's something already pre-mixed.
Yeah, if you're one of those that you can't be in the area of, just carry your EpiPen.
Yeah, they'll actually ask you, is it like something you ingest, or is it like a contacting? Is it okay that your meal was made in the same location that this say gluten or coconut or whatever is made in the same area? So
for me, it's okay if it's in the same area. It's if the number of parts per million is too high, then I have the reaction, and if it's really low, then I'm not too bad. If there's a beer that we have that I got not realizing that it had coconut in it because I really liked the beer and it was on nitro, and it was afterwards and I go, oh, it's got coconut in it too.
Oopsie.
So it was one of those, I'm willing to take the 4 hours of misery for the beer.
But again, that is him, and his allergy is not as severe as some people where it'll send them into anaphylactic shock.
Right.
Obviously, we would like to avoid that. Disney would like to avoid that. So,
moving on.
Please, let us. So, the next thing is, can you get any discounts?
Are you an annual pass holder?
Do you have Tables in Wonderland?
Are you a DVC member?
If you don't know what DVC is, that's Disney Vacation Club.
Are you perhaps a cast member?
Or is it that maybe that restaurant's running a special and they have a coupon or something on their site? Because not, like, well, if you're at Disney Springs, not all those are Disney.
Oh, I'm all like...
No, not in the parks, but Disney... I love how he's staring at me. It's so awesome. Like, for the non-run Disney restaurants at Disney Spring. So there's a possibility with those you might get a discount. Otherwise, you are paying full price.
Just know that with...
They all have restrictions.
Yes, Tables in Wonderland is food and alcohol. Annual pass holder, DVC, cast member is food only at table service, not quick service. And if I recall, all of them add the 18% gratuity automatically.
If you're at a table service. Or lounge.
Or lounge.
Because Tables in Wonderland, you can get a lounge. If you are interested in Tables in Wonderland, you must be either a Disney Vacation Club member, a Florida resident, or Florida annual pass holder.
Any kind of...
Or, and excuse me, if you... No, I think you either have to be the Florida or the Premier. I don't think it counts if you're Disneyland.
No, it can't. You can't be Disneyland, but you can be a Walt Disney World annual pass holder.
So yes.
I was like, Florida pass holder. I'm like,
sorry, but there is a price to that. But the price may offset, the amount of discounts you're going to be getting. That price.
And it's good for 13 months from the day that you purchase it.
Yeah.
Or from the month that you purchase it. So if I purchase it in February, it's good through until the end of March the following year.
Yes. And try not to lose it.
And in a 2-week trip, seriously, it pays for itself. We've got, we have one more trip left on it, so we're going to be renewing it again in November. And we'll get the November trip and our upcoming January trip and potentially a February trip. We haven't decided on that yet.
Nope.
I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do that or not.
But the point is, it all kind of works out, and just remember that whoever the tables card is in the name of, they have to pay for it. So, big thing. Oh, I was going to go back to Disney Giant Line really quick. When you're making, sometimes Disney runs specials where if you purchase the hotel room for Disney, sometimes they run a special that everybody in your party will automatically get the Disney dining plan for free. So that could be something that makes a Disney dining plan worth your while.
Right. So,
Moving on from food.
what events, tours do you want to partake in? Is there a themed event at Epcot?
Could be.
Or perhaps a seasonal celebration at Magic Kingdom?
Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party?
Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party?
Ooh. Or is there a special tour that you want to take? It could be a backstage tour. It could be an early morning tour, like say at the Magic Kingdom. The train tour is before the parks open. Or if it's one of those all-day tours, which is actually one of the backstage tours that we took that was like 7 hours. But they fed you, and you got to a lot of cool places. And you got to go to Utilidors, and it was really, really cool. One of the things I really liked was finding that they have a special patch of grass with the tree so that people, the cast members, learn while riding the lawnmowers how to avoid hurting the trees. I know it seems like silly, but it's very important.
For Janet was a working tour.
It was fine. I actually learned a lot, so it was fun. It was fun. But there are a lot of other tours that you can take. We took the Backstage Tales tour at Disney's Animal Kingdom. That was a whole lot of fun. And you just have to remember, a lot of these tours are about 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Most of them are. Unless you take like the Behind the Scenes, which really doesn't need a reservation, and that's like an hour and a half. And that's a lot of fun too. Of course, we're weird that way.
So, what is it that you don't want to miss doing?
When planning, you probably want to ask every party member, what are your top 3 things that you absolutely must do? And you can do it as a, like if it's a short trip, as a whole. What 3 things do you really want to do? If it's a longer
Drinking
trip,
around the world.
If it's a longer trip, it could be per park. So it really kind of depends. If you know you're going to have like 2 days in a park, you could spend those 2 days, like say if there are 4 people, trying to do all those things. Then again, they may not even have 3 things. Maybe there's just that one thing they want to do. If you're going off-site, each person should pick 1 or 2 must-dos, because you tend to be only at that park maybe 1 day, sometimes 2.
Yep. And perhaps you just want to go lounge hopping at the resorts.
And lounge hopping is a lot of fun. You can go to the resorts, you could go into the parks. There's a lot of options. There is a book called Drinking at Disney, which is written by Rhiannon and Drunk at Disney, and it's very informative, it's very helpful, it's very funny and snarky at times. It is a little based upon their opinions, and everybody's opinions are different. There are some things we agree on, and some things we disagree on. And just like you, I'm sure there are things you agree on when we're doing our videos, and things you think that we're absolutely crazy. So you have to think about those. Oh, and if one of your must-dos has to deal with characters, please, please, please try to figure out the character thing early in your trip. Because maybe a character's not here today, but they could be there later on the trip. And if that is the one character your kid wants to see, best to try to see that character early, or at least have opportunities to, so you're not on your last day going, but we didn't get to see Rapunzel! And it just seems to bring down your whole trip. Not fun. So think about that.
So now that we've got our must-dos,
what can we skip due to time constraints?
maybe you've got a show, duplicate attractions that are the same here at Disneyland that are over in Walt Disney World.
Dining locations that you're like, well, they're on the maybe, but I'd rather go to this place. So we'll take those off the table.
Character meet and greets.
Again, if your kid really wants to see, say, Rapunzel, do it. You may have to skip other ones. Unless you really, really want to see Baymax.
Or the water parks.
Water parks could be interesting. So you really have to think, what can we skip, what can we not skip? We've already been on It's a Small World 20 times.
Yes.
Maybe we can skip it again this trip.
So now we're going to go into what we're personally doing. So we go through that entire list of what we've done over the. So we also go and we get the printouts of menus
that
we review. Jen starts going and creating index cards, and they're multicolored cards.
So yellows tend to be for breakfast, green for lunch, blue for dinner,
purple is lounges?
Purple is lounges. Or no, purple is quick service. And this weird color, salmon? Salmon is for lounges. And the white colored cards, which are your normal cards. Non-colored cards, I don't know how you want to say it. Those are the ones I put like what that date is, what park we're going to, if there's a special event going on that day, or if it's a general noshing day one, which tends to be, of course, for Epcot because we assume we're doing food booths that day.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll take these cards by the dates and we'll spread them out on a table or on the floor. And
one of these days he's gonna bet.
I'm gonna get a pegboard that we can attach to one of our doors and just like peg everything up. And we just start going through and going, okay, hey, we want to go to this, we want to eat here on this day. And then we determine, okay, that's going to be what's nearby if it's not in the park, or if it's a dining location in a park, then we're going to go, okay, this is going to become our park then for that day. So we throw down Tuesday, and
well, that's our
okay, that was a bad one. Wednesday, and we want to eat at Skipper's Canteen, so automatically our day is the Magic Kingdom, and dinner's Be Our Guest.
That doesn't mean you can't park hop. We do park hop on certain days, so that just kind of depends on what we really want to do.
Right.
Do we want to make sure we get to this restaurant and get to this restaurant, or maybe we're trying to do this event and this event because we want to start our day at Animal Kingdom, but say we want to do Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party later on that day. So obviously we're going to be park hopping and planning out accordingly. So it becomes a game of Tetris. Right now we have a basic of what we're doing, but it will change again based upon park hours, and do we want to be there during early entry day? Are we avoiding an early entry day? Are there extra magic hours at night that maybe we want to partake in? That sort of thing. And then once we're done with that, all of this information will get transposed onto a Word document, and the Word document will include with the park hours for that day, notes that include refurbishments, what our fast passes are for that day, if we need to make sure to get to the Run Disney Expo, that sort of thing.
Hockey schedules.
For
our home team.
It's true. If it's during the Food and Wine Festival, or of course Flower and Garden, we usually put down what band is playing for that event. Then, of course, Chris is the one who usually ends up making the dining reservations. Most of them. Not all of them, but most of them.
Then I go in, once I've got those locked in, for some reason if something's not available the day that we had originally planned, then I go through and start playing the game of, alright, when's the next time we're in this park? Or can I switch parks around and get a reservation on this day, and let's move this one over to here? But I also, at that point in time, I'm also doing the Fast Pass, which we can book 60 days out in advance.
Because we are staying on property. If you're not staying on property, you only get
30.
Yes. So that is kind of a nice perk for staying on property as well. And of course, once all that information, once he gets those reservation information numbers, then that will also go onto our Word document, which we put into our Dropbox, so our happy people who are going with us on that trip can see.
Yep. And then, last but not least, there's a budget.
Yes, budgeting is very important because, again, at some point, you're going to have to pay for all this. You can't just go for free. Disney won't like that.
Right. So, there's an Excel spreadsheet that we have that has captured from 2001 to present for all of our trips. We include everything that we paid for in advance. There's stuff, once we get back, Jen sits down with all the receipts that she's basically kept separated by date of whenever something happened, and just goes and starts putting everything down. And it breaks it down. How much did we spend on food and alcohol, gifts, other items, so...
Tips. that sort of thing. It's not so finite. I don't have it to where, say, we were at Mitsukoshi, which is in the Japan pavilion, and we bought food items which go under snacks, but then I bought some souvenir things which go with souvenirs. I just tend to put all that under souvenirs. So it's, it's like we go to a lounge, I don't break out between what we bought for food, if we bought any, and what we bought for alcohol. That just goes under bars and lounges. Meals goes under, did we do quick service? Did we go pick something up from the food court? Did we do a sit down? That's what it is. And if it's a particular event like food and wine, that goes under its own category. So that way we kind of can see how much we've spent under each thing. And we can kind of help plan future trips accordingly.
I'm going to include a link to a template of our budget so people can look and see how our budget template and see how we do it, and then they can, if you guys want to use it, you can use it or make modifications of your own as well.
But it's just something to jump off of. It's not perfect. It is not perfect by any means.
Nope.
I'm sure there's a better way I can do it, but this is how I'm doing it, so get over it.
So, and with that, we're going to wrap up.
Yep. Please, if you have any questions, comments, things we didn't cover that we might be able to answer, please
ask us.
Yes.
There might be something that you guys are doing differently. We'd like to hear what you guys are doing, how you plan.
And we can definitely answer in the comments, and depending on how much feedback we get, we may end up doing another video to address some of those things.
Absolutely. So, that, we're going to say goodbye.
See ya!